So I think you've all been properly welcome. I don't know if any of you haven't been on the stage, want to spend some time here? Probably not. Okay, so with Nick, we thought we would tell you a little bit about the future of Orchard and also the future of the past. Well, Orchard is the CMS of the future right now. So we wanted to tell you a little bit about how it came to be and what were we thinking when we first built Orchard a few years ago, and where we see it going in the next few years. So Orchard pretty much started in 2010. We were a small group of engineers at Microsoft. We wanted to do app building, and we had a few ideas. We started doing some e-commerce thingy, and then it morphed into a CMS. We thought that CMS was really the one type of application that .NET was missing, and we wanted to do that. So, well, yeah. So in 2010, we started looking at the best CMS of the time, and at the time it was Drupal, in our opinion. It was the best architected one, and it was also WordPress, but that's not the best architected one. But definitely the most successful one, and there were some reasons for it. And the language they were built on wasn't the reason for their success, but, well, we wanted to build something very specific. We had some very strong opinions about what we wanted to build, and I'm going to detail some of those. Can I use that? No, I can't. The first one of those ideas was that we wanted the setup to be as simple as possible. The idea is basically that we would ask you as little as we had to, so that we can get done with the setup as fast as possible and postpone all the other decisions until later. And that is something that we thought would help a lot with adoption. And that's a page we stole from WordPress. And in order to do that, we had to accept some temporary insecurity, which was at the time not so easy. Now everyone is doing it this way, but at the time it wasn't trivial. We wanted to build a type system from the right abstractions, and that means content types, content parts, and content items. And I think that is one of the design decisions that were the most successful, although there are little things that we would probably do differently today. Composition is probably the most important concept that there is in Orchard. It's really the idea that you would have a bunch of agents parting on data and building something independently, and working together, being orchestrated. And we wanted to have extreme extensibility. And by that, I mean that everything can be replaced and everything can be extended. And we also wanted it to be Xcopy deployable, which means that you can take your application from your dev box, transport it to your prod server, and have everything works. And that meant some interesting challenges in terms of dynamic compilation, in terms of database. Actually, at the time, the only database that was supporting that would have been SQLite, which is what we started with. And then Microsoft came up with SQL CE, so we also had that. But those were the reasons. The reasons for adopting those was Xcopy deployments. And the other thing that was important at the time was that we wanted it to be possible to edit the source code, save, and have it work immediately, which is something that you get for free from PHP, but that you didn't get for free from ASP.NET at the time. That was something that we built and that is now available out of the box from ASP.NET. You know, it's very useful. We wanted to have a modern admin, so this, anyone remember that? Anyone been using that? This was the first dashboard for our chart. It looked a little different, but not that different. So it was modern at the time. You think it's still modern today? Yeah, maybe not. I mean, have you used it on a phone, Sébastien? Seriously? No. Well, yeah. Oh, that explains a lot. And we wanted multi-tenancy, and that was a kind of a controversial thing. Some people are actually not so happy about that because it also means a lot of constraints. So those were all the opinions that we had and the things that we wanted in the CMS that really influenced its design. You know, multi-tenancy is really helpful to improve site density, but it does have some challenges in terms of design. And finally, last but not least, we wanted it to be as open as possible. And remember, that was a Microsoft project originally, so making it open source and giving the governance to the community wasn't something that was exactly in the Microsoft DNA at the time. Now, everything has changed. The new default is open source, but I like to think that we had something to do with that we helped with that a little bit by being one of the first to really be that open at Microsoft. Yeah, I think that was one of the best decisions, definitely. The proof is in this room. We are very happy to see everything that people have built around our chart and very proud of it. We didn't get everything right, which is bad and the good news, because it means that we can do better and we can build new, exciting things. So this is actually, if you haven't seen a real Rube Goldberg device, this is one of those. One of those things that we didn't get exactly right is being relational. Can anyone guess what this is? This diagram here? Anyone want to take a bet?
The London metro system.
What?
The London metro system.
No. This is actually I mean, yeah, I shouldn't have picked that. That's just nasty. This is Drupal. So they kind of have the same kind of problem that we have. Yeah. We knew from the start that the best design for our chart would have been document storage. We knew that. But still, we went for relational. With the result that, in the end, well, we ended up building document storage on a SQL database. So how screwed up is that? Another thing that we didn't maybe do so well is force you to, and that was a completely deliberate decision, completely deliberately bad decision, which is that if you want to build, if you want to use the features of our chart, then you need your application to be an chart application. You need to refactor your code so that it's an chart module, and so on and so forth. So maybe we would do that differently today. And actually, Nick is going to talk a little bit about that, right? You are? Yeah, I hope. Okay, good. Well, another thing is that when you try to learn our chart as a user, you need to learn a few concepts, and sometimes, depending on how the our chart developer did his job, you may have to go to taxonomies, for example, to edit a content item. And how do I know it's a taxonomy term? I don't know. Or if you have more than one thing to set up, then you have to go to different places, and there is nothing guiding you through that process. So making it easier to build discoverable processes for our end users is probably something that we could improve on. And there is the problem of versioning, which is kind of a universal problem. It's, I think it's one of those problems that still isn't properly solved by anyone. You have a whole spectrum of the different ways you can do versioning. You can go, fully versioned and force people to have the specific version that you know will work, or you can be very relaxed like we are and say, well, yeah, anything goes, and if it must break, it will break. And it does break all the time. So maybe there is a middle ground here, I don't know. Things to explore. So let's go back to the future. Oh, by the way, it's soon! We're almost there! Or, well, if you're watching this on YouTube, then it's done. And you already have your shoes and hoverboard. Yeah. Well, in retrospect, it worked pretty well. Everyone has Teslas in this room, I suppose. Oh, well. No, I wasn't going to give a Tesla to everyone, but. So it's a good time after 5 years of public versions of Orchard to think about what we want to do next. What we want to do next is Orchard 2.0. It's kind of time to start building that. And yeah, try to build the new platform of the future, the one for 2020. I know it's kind of confusing, but So the world has changed since we started building this 5 years ago. Document databases now are mainstream. So if we started something new today, we would probably have document storage as a first-class way of doing storage. Because it's such a better fit for Orchard. The cloud is now the default, pretty much. We have containers, we have microservices, for better or for worse. I mean, oops. Yeah. And today, Orchard kind of looks like the picture on the left from the outside, but it does have an architecture that actually could lend itself to maybe a different way of factoring things. We now have a lot of JavaScript and CSS frameworks, transpilers, all kinds of stuff that already kind of existed, but that now have gone really mainstream. I mean, would you build something today without at least looking at Bootstrap, without at least looking at Angular? So we have a lot of work to do for, notably, our dashboard to refactor things and make them work with this. Nowadays, a lot of people are actually building their website on Squarespace or other similar web building sites, and that is definitely our competition today. So we want to keep looking at that. I think what's been done with Orchard layouts is a great way of competing with that. And now, everything needs to be mobile first. Did anybody in this room own one of those? Don't be ashamed. Well, you should, but you had to put it on the side to talk. Really, for real. But it was a great gaming device, I suppose. Yeah, so now you have to design for mobile, definitely. Social media has changed a lot, and it's definitely something that you need to take into account when you design something today. Well, it was kind of an optional thing 5 years ago. I'm not sure what this has to do with Orchard, but just trying to make a point here. you know. What people develop on is kind of important. How many people have Macs here? Well, yeah, this is actually atypical. In most conferences, in most dev conferences today, if you ask that question, you'd better ask who's using Windows, because it's going to be a lot easier to count. So that's something that we need to take into account as well. People build on the Mac and deploy to Linux. This is the new normal. So that also means something for us. I mean, we need to follow that trend and make sure that future version of Orchard can run in that environment. Okay, so who knows who this guy is? You do? Yeah. Dunbox, famous XML Microsoft guy.
XML Microsoft guy is Jean Melati.
Oh, maybe.
XML inventor.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
it.
Yeah. That photo was the legend was, you did what with XML? So there have been a few experimentations, and last year I spent 6 months building something in Node.js to kind of reset this thing, and in the spirit of what I've showed before, exactly, taking those concepts, taking new concepts that have emerged since then, and try to see what kind of implementation you could get if you build something from scratch. With the objective of implementing those concepts in a very pure and distilled way, which is what I did with DecentCMS. It's an experiment, and I think it's worth checking out. And actually, we have a lot of cross-pollination with Nick on that, and Bertrand, which is Orchard 2.0. Super bad name. We need to change that name. But yeah, so that was an interesting experiment. That I did entirely on my own, and so it's a kind of autistic thing. But and we do have Orchard 2.0, and this is where Nick is going to take over the presentation. And
Hello, turn this on.
Thank you very much.
Hello. Okay. Yes, so Orchard 2.0. Hi, guys. So we've done a lot, as Bertrand has mentioned. So let's move on. Okay. So, a new world. Microsoft have been working on something called vNext. So let's take a look and see, how we can implement Orchard on vNext. We hear it's better, so kind of good. So this train station is where I catch my train to work every day, and it highlights that, we want to go cross-platform. We want Linux. We want Mac. We're not just all Windows guys anymore. Composition. So, yeah, we do an awful lot of modules. We have an awful lot of modules, except we still have the framework. Trying to take anything out of the framework is a little bit hard. So let's break that up and make it nice. Hold on, where am I? Oh, yeah. So one thing I learned quite quickly with vNext is that they have abstractions and they have implementations. One thing that Orchard doesn't have is that kind of model where you can subscribe to just the abstractions, but you still have to subscribe to the implementations at the same time. So let's break that up. It doesn't, I can't, the slide's just weird. Yeah, so swapping something out of the framework is hard. It almost requires a rewrite, especially because things rely on autofac or Castle Windsor or, all those kind of things. And swapping those parts out just aren't that easy. So one of the pain points that we want to address is that. Being able to swap those things out, referencing them, make our lives easier. So, does anyone know who this is? Blackadder, yes. So, I don't know what it has to do with this slide. I just thought it was funny. Yeah, so content management is not baked into the framework anymore. We don't want it baked in. We want it on the side, so if you want it, you can use it, but you don't have to use it. So it's not a CMS anymore. It's much bigger than that. So we want you to build your own host. So I don't want to go too much into this because I've got another session on it, but orchard.web is quite convenient, right? But changing anything it sometimes can be a bit painful. So we want to allow you to configure things much easier than before. Storage versus querying. So we have repositories, we have content management, we have we've got so many different ways of querying the database and storing data and doing those kind of things that it just makes our lives a little confusing. And they're not the same thing, so they should be broken up. Does anyone know who these guys are? Again, it doesn't have anything to do with the slide, but no. Red Dwarf, yes. So by splitting up storage, we hand the power to you guys, where you want to store the data. If you want to store it using Entity Framework, you can do that. If you want to store it using Dapper or you want to store it in XML on the file system, you can do that. Yeah, so you filter where it gets stored. Querying. So you want to get your data and you want to get it fast. Well, does anyone know these guys? Fawlty Towers, yes. So this is a famous scene from Fawlty Towers about the Waldorf salad. First come gets the Waldorf salad, and obviously Basil kind of just arrived a bit late. So what we've done is we want to introduce something like MapReduce to the framework and make it so that you can query your data quicker and more distributed. Right, so packages. At the moment, we use the lib folder. That was kind of good, but now everyone has moved on. They're now on NuGet. Everyone seems to want to use NuGet, which is cool, and we should do the same. So every single module or package should be a NuGet package. You reference that, pull it down, versioned, may solve the versioning issue that we've seen over the years, but maybe not. Yeah, logging. So same principle as the entity framework thing, really. Also, Log4Net's not cross-platform at the moment. So we kind of want to say you choose what you want to implement in terms of logging, in terms of data access. There will obviously be a default out-of-the-box one, but we want those kind of pain points to go away. Same with configuration. So we have YAML, we have JSON, we've got a little bit of XML. There's no ini file in our code base at the moment, but we don't really care. So if you want a module.txt file, or you want a module.json file, or a module.xml file, well, why can't you have one? And make it easy just to have one. And that's yeah. I'm brief because well.
Question? Make it easy for you. When you're separating storage and the query technology, are you accounting for performance differences based on storage?
Yes. So the idea is that I wanted to go into this tomorrow, but the idea is that you're querying the index, and that should allow for faster retrieval of data. But I'll cover that a bit more tomorrow, if that's okay. Yeah.
Hi. Will we be able to plug any type of databases?
That's the idea. So the data abstraction, the data layer is abstracted off. So yes.
Document storage, Cassandra,
if you want,
MongoDB.
yeah,
Okay.
entirely up to you. But again, I'll cover the document side of things tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you.